Hey, flooring pros, welcome to the Flooring Business Podcast. Each week, we're trying to bring guests to you that's going to help you grow your business, whether it's marketing, sales, installation, anything we can do to help you grow your flooring business and profit now in the flooring industry. Remember that SIAF starts December 12th. And if you're interested it'll be a group coaching call. So it'll be me helping you with your business along with other flooring pros like yourself. Everybody's got information, advice, ways that we can help each other out. But each week we'll have a topic that we'll be discussing, and then we'll have time left over for whatever you have going on in your flooring business that you need help with, whether it's hiring somebody, you want to move into a new building, you need to fire somebody, whether you're looking at investing into another store or you want to sell your business. We can help you with whatever your goals are in your flooring business. All right, so this is going to be an interesting topic. It's one that's popular. We've discussed it a lot. Matt and I have had a ton of conversations about it. So I'm introducing Matt Garcia, and we are going to talk about subcontractors versus in-house installers. Very interesting topic to see what's best for your flooring business. And Matt's done a lot of work around this to make having house installers the best system for your flooring business. So welcome, Matt. I don't see any snow in the background.
No, we don't get too much of that here in Texas.
Okay.
But the fall, all the leaves falling in the fall, and it's pretty in that respect. So
I'm used to everybody just being dramatically colder than we are. And
yeah.
in Arizona, I'm in Mexico now. In Arizona, it was 55 degrees, or it got down below 50. And here in Mexico, it's like 65. So
Yeah, I mean, we're only about 4 hours from the border, I would say, of Mexico where we are. So
yeah, so you stay pretty warm there.
yeah, warm. Yeah. We not too cold, not too well. It gets hot in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's actually one of my more favorite times of the year.
You should have a view of your clubhouse for all of us to see.
Yeah, I'm inside of it right now.
You're in it?
Yeah,
Oh,
You
this
want?
is the playhouse you built for the kids?
Yeah. You want me to show you real quick?
Yeah.
So this is it right here, and this is the view. So you basically, pretty high up in the trees, and this is what it
Oh,
looks like.
nice. Who's
Yeah,
in it more, you or the kids?
the kids, but it's the quietest. I got 4 kids, so it's the quietest place for me to go do stuff like this. It's actually got spray foam insulation and power and HVAC and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like it's the parent getaway / kids playhouse. So but we got a river down there and woods in the backyard. And then I'll show you that this is actually it's dual use. So this is the downstairs, and it's got this ladder here.
Oh, nice.
I'm still working on this. We made like a rainbow ceiling, just kind of make it colorful for the kids and stuff like that. And yeah, so I'm actually still finishing a little bit. I'm actually going to be working on it tomorrow. So I've been working on it for 6 years. So it's like been 95% done for like the last year.
You ever take your wife up there to make more kids? But oh no, you don't have to answer that. So
Well,
we use our
we did. We
imagination.
actually, so in the rare event that we do get snow, we actually did get a lot of snow on the weekend that we were supposed to go out of town for our anniversary. And so my mother came and watched the kids, and we actually stayed the night in the treehouse instead of going out of town. So
No, that's funny.
yeah, it was actually crazy because it froze. And there's like turkeys, I didn't realize it, but it iced over the bark, and so they couldn't roost up in the trees. And there's like probably 30 or 40 turkeys just like down below, and they look like they're frozen because they weren't moving at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, are they dead and frozen? So I went
Oh,
out,
that's
like picked their head up. I was going, oh well, I guess you just can't like roost in the tree. I don't know. It was pretty wild, but
that's funny. You know, you could probably Airbnb that.
yeah, a lot of people have, asked if they could Airbnb it to stay here.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's been a good like fun
Yeah.
thing to because I live on family property. Like my mother and father-in-law live on one part of the property. We live on another, and my mother and father-in-law host a lot of family events here. So it's really fun. Like we can have it was overflow for people to stay and all that kind of stuff. And so
Is it like
yeah,
the Yellowstone? Like if somebody tries to take your land, you'll throw them down a ravine or something. You ever
yeah,
watch Yellowstone?
we just put them in the river.
Yeah. All
Hey,
right. So
I actually that the coaching that you got coming up, like how does that work as far as like like a business like mine? Like what's
oh,
the
once a
deal?
month, we're going to discuss a subject, and this first one's December 12th. We're going to be talking a lot about setting goals and preparing for next year's. And, start off with the goals, and then building the roadmap and the system for reaching your goals. And then again, it'll be an open format for other people to talk, ask questions. But it's 90 minutes long, and it'll be on Zoom. So probably have anywhere from 10 to 20 people on the call. And then we'll also have a Facebook group so people can ask private, more intimate questions about their business, and we can keep the discussions going about whatever it is that we started talking about, and sharing documents and things like that. So
Oh,
and I
nice.
developed this to help people. I mean, my coaching is expensive and worth it. I don't think it's that expensive because it's worth it, but
Yeah.
something that is a little less expensive that'll help people uh, that maybe can't afford the full-on coaching that we do.
Uh,
So normally it's $9.97. That's what we want to get it to, $9.97 a month. But
uh-huh.
our introductory price starting off, it'll be $4.97. So $4.97 a month, and anybody that signs up at the $4.97 will be grandfathered in at that price. And they'll be able to cancel at any time. It's not going to be any long-term contracts or anything like that. So it's important
uh,
that anybody that's in it gets value from it. Anybody that has coaching, I guarantee my coaching. So I've got a money back guarantee on that. I it's really important for me that the people that sign up get value from what they sign up for, and that it does make improvements in your business.
yeah, that makes sense because yeah, to have kind of like a stepping stone type of thing where you can get great value kind of where you're at. But I can see that being nice because I have noticed as we grow, we have we can invest more into more higher levels of coaching and things, and so
Yeah.
that's nice because you start going, oh wow, like because like what we've talked about, implementation is the killer, right? So it's like you can get a lot of ideas and start growing your business, but you get to the point where you're going, oh man, we need to implement some of these great processes and great, strategies and things like that. But that's where it's like, having you come in, like how you've helped us in the past, work on that strategy and implementation to like really move the needle.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. That's what my money back guarantee is just as long as you do these 6 or 7 things that we're going to tell you, the main things that you have to do, pricing your showroom, closing in the home, things like that. If you do these things and you feel like it doesn't work, or didn't work for you, then we give you your money back. But if you don't do anything, or you don't show up for the coaching call, then that's on you.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
so we hold you accountable and make sure that you're doing what we said that you're going to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I
and,
mean, it
and
shows the
makes
business.
those changes. It's funny, the people that make the changes quick and easy. It's just you
Yeah.
talk to Mike Anderson, and that guy within a week or two priced his whole showroom out, and just every customer comes in, it's like, oh, this is great. This is so much easier. They're
Yeah.
going store to store, and they get so frustrated because of the lack of information out there. And then when you have that information in your store and you're transparent, it makes the shopping experience so much better for the customer.
Yeah, we did the same thing, because I didn't really think about how how much more difficult it is to really have a good time with the client when you're trying to find pricing. And as soon as you started mentioning that, I was looking at our process and going, that is awkward, when you're trying to, decorate and have fun with the products. And at the same time, you trying to look up pricing and, what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
much smoother. And I didn't even realize it until, you kept kind of like harping on that. And then it's like, oh, wow. It's so much more fun when you're not having to worry about like what, trying to figure all that out as you're trying to decorate and sell with them.
Yeah, when it's visible, it's interesting how less important it is to the client than when it's hidden. And then they
Yeah.
have to think about it and remember what you said, and you have to remember what you said. Now all of a sudden, your conversation is based on price. When
Yeah.
the reason that people don't put their prices on, they don't want it to be based on price, but by not putting prices on, you're making it about the price even more.
Yeah. No, you know
And
what?
then
It's funny how that works because like logically you would think that way, but that's just been exactly our experience. Is now we're not even talking about price. They see what it is. If they can kind of decide what budget they want to shop in, and it flows so much better.
And then how many times have people decided to buy something more expensive because the price is visible?
Yeah.
So I can start building it and justifying it in my head versus the salesperson trying to justify it. I'll do it myself
Yeah,
as a customer.
that's a good point because since we priced a showroom, I feel like if anything, we've had people upgrade more.
Yeah.
Which you think is counterintuitive, but it's like what you said. I have seen zero issue with people wanting to downgrade or go cheaper. In fact, if anything, I would say it's the opposite because we do try to do higher end use higher end products, and it's if anything, we probably have people. I think maybe because people even get nervous about they see these beautiful products about how expensive they actually are, and they might actually start gravitating, to other ones just because now in their head it's such a mystery. If they just see it right in front of their face,
Yeah.
then they could just move on.
And then when I've noticed having good, better, best on carpet, different ounce weights, that people gravitate towards the best, not towards the middle. Everybody thinks
Yeah,
people go towards the middle or best value. No, they go
yeah.
to the top. And I never really knew why, but that was always my experience in my showroom is I was always fascinated that people did gravitate and go for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. That's been our experience too.
All right, speaking about the best, so we're going to get into this because it is a very, very complicated issue. There's a lot of challenges between, and my goal is not to prove that it's better to have subcontractors. I always am interested in finding out better ways to market the business. And sometimes when I have these discussions with Matt, it sounds like I'm for subcontractors versus in-house. I'm for finding the best solution for people and how to make this in-house. This is the whole thing with Matt's system and process. It is a system, and that's why it's better, and that's why it was made better, is because it's been systematized. So we want to get into that about why it's better. So when did you start going to build an in-house installer strategy? When did you begin that?
Yeah, so I subcontracted for flooring dealers for about 17 years before I opened up my own, showroom, and um, there was a lot of things I wanted to change, and part of it as well is being that I was a subcontractor and I already had a couple of crews, it was a pretty natural fit for me to keep my in-house crews as I built up our company. And so for me, it wasn't necessarily like a huge master plan to, subcontractor versus, in-house or anything like that. It was just practical for me at the time. But, seeing how, I guess being in both worlds for so long, I could really start to compare contrast the value of each one and, kind of, um, I guess what I'm getting at is that I like a really smooth, well-run process. And I ran into a lot of issues being a subcontractor that I thought I could solve with in-house. And I realized in-house comes with its own challenges, right? And paying hourly comes with its own challenges. And so that's really where, I really wanted to try to get the best of both worlds. And I didn't know if it was possible. But, the more I got into systems and processes and tweaking and fine tuning, just, doing that over and over, I'm going, wow, I really feel like you can get the best of both worlds. And like, what you were talking about, I'm not really saying, subcontracting is bad or in-house is better. It really is what's the right fit. But this industry is predominantly subcontractors for installation. And I feel like the value of in-house with a great system is far underutilized. I feel like if people really understood the value and had a great system, I think that in-house installation would be a far greater share of what you would see as an operation for installers.
So let's talk about some of the differences between having a subcontractor before an in-house installer, such as a subcontractor. They can work for anybody. They don't have to work for your store, but it really is fascinating that a lot of subcontractors, we get a good subcontractor in our store and they're only really working for us because we'll keep them busy, especially the really good ones, so I know in my son's store now, we've had the same installer since 2015. And I think he does jobs for other people once in a while, but for the most part, he pretty much works for us. If we had some kind of IRS audit, they'd say that dude's an employee, So, and I don't really want to emphasize the taxes and the laws. All those risks are yours to manage and mitigate and figure that out. Because every state is different, but then there's federal laws too that govern it. And I don't care what you do in business, you're breaking the law because you're an evil, awful person that's, trying to get away with something or something. I felt like a criminal when I started my business, like I'm a bank robber or something, and they're trying to avoid me from doing any harm. But having those subcontractors, oftentimes they are just working for our store. You get that loyalty with them if you keep them busy, versus an in-house guy can't really be taking side jobs or doing work for other people or even for themselves. How do you view that with in-house versus subs?
Well, I mean, they can work for other people. It just depends on how you have it set up. Because I mean, any employee is free to take, have another job. You could have 2 or 3 jobs as an employee. I mean, ideally, you keep them busy enough to where they don't want to have a second job. But it honestly, you can be a subcontractor for other companies and an employee for another. I don't think that would be ideal. And kind of back to the legalities of things too, like I said, we're not giving legal advice here, but every state is different. And I'm going to talk a little bit about discretionary pay. And that is something that, from state to state, has its rules and things like that. But what I have found is you're trying to almost navigate in between the legalities of what is a legal subcontractor and what is a legal employee. And depending on your state, you kind of have more. In Texas, it's like you don't have to have a contractor's license. I mean, you technically don't have to have workman's comp. Not that you don't have liability still. I mean, it's insurance basically, but as far as that goes, that is something that you kind of have to evaluate. I'm trying to build a system that is flexible enough to where you can make sure that you stay in line with, with the laws of your state. But, in reality, I feel like the law, at first I used to go, oh, the laws are just BS. And a lot of them are. But there actually is some decent logic in the difference between a subcontractor and an employee. If you try to push the limits and turn a subcontractor into an employee, basically, you're kind of like you're limiting yourself on how much you can train them and all of these things. So it's like you almost might as well have them be a full-on employee. And on the opposite, if you're trying to treat an employee like a subcontractor, they might as well be a subcontractor. You get what I mean? So it's not like the laws are light years away from what logic would tell you, but it does kind of help you kind of define, the best way you should approach, whether they are subcontractor and installer.
I mean, things really are dramatically different though, in the way that you treat them and the way that you pay them. Once you have them as an employee and you got them under your wings and you're paying their taxes and paying all that, that's dramatically different from having a subcontractor who you're just paying specifically for the work that they're doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what I'm trying to do, because, a lot of people complain about productivity for hourly employees. And I totally agree with it. Productivity is a lot more incentivized for subcontractors, but on the other hand, I feel like it is over incentivized. So there's really hardly any encouragement for quality or not skipping steps or, with piecework. I mean, it's all your pay is completely dependent on performance. And so, that's one of the things I feel like we are solving with performance pay for employees, because, we, as an employee, you can have discretionary pay and you can actually implement quality standards. And that's where the struggle with subcontractors is you, being that you can't train them technically, you have to rely on whatever training they had and try to give a model of leadership to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like your hands are tied behind your back with subcontractors, whereas with employees, you can have full, training systems, SOPs. I mean, you can make sure that every crew is giving the client a 5-star experience.
Just for context, what products are you selling in your store, from carpet, tile, hardwood? Tell us a little bit more about your business so we have some context about who you're hiring and what they're doing.
Yeah, we're primarily a hardwood flooring company. Basically anything wood flooring, from restorations to new pre-finished. We do some vinyl plank type hard surface, but we are actually transitioning to doing tile, carpet, everything. So we're going to be aiming for a bigger showroom next year, and so I am subbing out as we're trying to expand our growth. But the goal is, as we grow, we're going to sub out until we have enough to have an in-house crew, and then we're going to use subcontractors to expand. But once we get a baseline, we're going to be switching over to in-house as we grow.
So being in-house, when you go from scratch, hiring them, how do you hire somebody as an in-house? If you found a good installer, you need to expand, you need more installers, do you bring them in as an in-house installer, or do you start them off as a subcontractor?
I would start off as a subcontractor, because you want to make sure that they're going to be a good fit. And so, especially once you have really one crew, you may never have to hire another subcontractor on, because you can start implementing a training strategy to where you basically growing your own installers. Because I mean, that's the beauty. I think the biggest mistake that people think about with in-house is that they try to take the subcontractor model and fit it into an in-house model. And there's so many more options that you have with instant in-house, because you can create systems and processes that you grow your own installation, your new installers from within. You're promoting from within. You don't have to, you're no longer tied to whatever is out there that you got to settle for. You can literally say, hey, these are the standards, this is the training regimen, and we're going to advance you through, each step until you're a journeyman, and then you can hit master craftsman level statuses, right? So really, you just need one. The hardest thing is to get one going. Once you have that, then you can start duplicating if you have a duplicatable process.
Well, okay, that's another topic too. That's another good
Yep.
subject too to bring up. And we talk so much about the battles between salespeople and installers and all that, but on the same concept, I try to teach people, because they got this one-off salesperson that wants different pay or wants different circumstances, and I'm like, when you have different circumstances for the people, it's going to make your business very messy, and
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to expand and keep up with, well, I pay this person this way and I pay this person that way. So having that process and system is really important, in bringing the other installers on under that process and system. But the one challenge I see is of having the in-house is hiring. If you're trying to hire them as in-house installers, it really limits the amount of people that you have to choose from, because you have to find people who are willing to accept those conditions out of the gate. And it seems to me, whatever you're part of this in-house installers, having them would have to do with the hiring process. So have you developed a hiring process to get them to become in-house installers?
Yeah. That's actually something that I'm still working on, because I've gotten a lot of interest in this. And so we have a great structure to manage your in-house system. But a lot of dealers are already using subcontractors, or maybe just have one, and that's probably is one of the bigger struggles, is to get started with it. And so that is something that we're working on it. And I think a lot of it is, I think that there's a big mismatch between what dealers think that installers want and what installers actually want. And it's kind of like what you said. It's a lot of those things that the installers won't even necessarily think about or admit that they want. And I've really dialed it down because I mean I'm right in the middle of it. It's not like this is theory, right? Because like I said, we're trying to expand, and so I'm already having meetings with subs for tile specifically, because I really love custom tile, and you need a top-notch installations crew.
Yeah.
For so I'm actually having meetings preemptively with these people that I feel like are top-notch already, and saying, hey, what's your struggle? What could be better? And they're going to tell you a lot of the same stories. It's going to be, trying to manage employees. They're good at the craft. Usually they're terrible at the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can manage all their insurances. We could manage all the taxes. All they have to worry about is just the craft. You know what I mean? Just do what you're best at. We're going to take it. We're even going to find you new recruits, because we can advertise way more efficiently than you can, as a business. We're already doing that anyways. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
we're going to take care of all the marketing. We're going to take care of everything that is a headache for you, so that you can do what you love. And basically, we're going to create a lot of efficiency gain there. And we can both, we could basically partner up, because there's no way that they could do as good as they could without me. And I can't do as good as I could without them. So you get what I mean? If we combine forces and we bring it in as one company, I mean, we can both do way better than we ever could on our own.
So for you, the employer would be, and I've had to think this through for a client of mine who only has in-house installers and is having trouble finding guys. And what I've told them to do is, you need to quit looking for in-house installers, bring them in as subcontractors under a 90-day agreement, and then you're pitching and selling them on the idea of becoming an in-house guy. So if
Yeah.
they qualify after 90 days, so during that 90 days, you're talking to them about becoming an in-house installer. What's the pay? What's the benefits? How would it work? And then you're
Yeah.
also making sure that they are a good fit during those 90 days. And if they're not, as a subcontractor, you don't have to fire them. You just don't ever use them again. So
I,
it's a good process for the business.
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I would, because you don't want to bring somebody on with a commitment unless you can see that they actually, the proof is in the pudding. And this is the thing. I love the way, you're going to present the in-house as an upgrade. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody to grow, to grow our business. You know what I mean? And so you're basically saying, hey, I want to, partner with you. Like, I want you to grow the business within my business. You know what I mean? So that you can get farther than you ever could on your own, and I can as well, because I need you and you need me. Kind of, you get what I mean? You're. I think the biggest reason why subs don't want to go to in-house is because they think it's all in it for the other person. Oh, well, what's in it for me? And so if you present it as this great opportunity, where you're excited about what you can do for them and what they can do for you, and you start strategizing, you start talking about, because that first, honestly, if you got a legit run business, that first subcontractor that comes in-house, they're going to be the one that is running the show. You know what I mean? Like, they'll probably end up being a project manager, because as as they train and grow your installation force, you're going to need, somebody that can help manage that. And there's just a ton of opportunity there. And so I think that, you got to show them that you're going to give them less stress, because you're going to take a lot of headache away from them. And not only too, but you're showing them that they have unlimited potential, just
Yeah,
like
you
a
have to
great
sell
sales.
the opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity, exactly. And I think it's like, oh well, I think that a lot of dealers get intimidated about it even being good for the in-house person, because they're not thinking about the opportunity. Because this is the other thing too: when you have in-house crews, they are all trained together. You're getting together and you're training them, so they have a relationship all with each other. So let's say you land a giant project. You can have 5 of your in-house crews all on that big giant project, right? And you can start taking them on and off to pick off little jobs. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's hard to do with subs, because they're not used to working with each other and things. So you're creating this team is what you're doing, and you're starting with that first one. And it may take you a couple of tries with subs to figure out which one is really going to be the ticket. But I'm telling you, once you get a baseline, you're going to grow from within, and you're not going to have that challenge. It'll actually be much easier for you to train and recruit at that point.
Well, here's the other thing is, what if they just don't want to? I mean, there's a lot of installers that don't want anything to do with being an in-house guy, and they don't want to change the way that they're getting paid and the way it's working. And let's face it, as the owner of the business, the biggest advantage of having in-house installers, not only the quality of the work and being able to control that, but it's ideally it would be less than hiring a subcontractor, wouldn't it? Or
No, I think that's a myth. You really shouldn't. I mean, you need to make profit as the business, right? Regardless. And so, what I would say is, if the amount of money shouldn't change either way, right? Because no matter what, you have to cover all the costs. So it's just shifting who's covering the cost. So if it is a subcontractor, they have to pay for everything that it takes for them to do the job, right? And the business still needs to make the profit it needs to make, right? So you're playing with the same amount of numbers. You're just shifting who's paying for what. And I'll tell you that as a subcontractor, when you're so busy trying to get your work done, you're not paying attention to your business that good. I'll just tell you that right now. It is super stressful and difficult to manage your numbers, your insurances, your supply, all those things. And that's something that, like with our management system, that helps you to rein all that in. But we have found that when installers perform best when they only have to worry about installing. That's enough right there. That you know what I mean? When they have all these other things to manage with employees and things like that, we manage all of that office side of things. So anything that they would have to be doing in the office on top of their work, we're now shifting that over to the dealer. And really, like I said, there isn't, if anything, you can gain through efficiency, and it won't happen so much at first, but you will find that as you grow, it is far more efficient. Those subs are going to be getting way more done as an in-house person once you shift the responsibility of the office work off of them.
So how do you manage again, one of the challenges is in-house installers tend to clock out at 5, where subcontractors try to finish the job up. So has that been a problem or an issue with you with in-house versus subs?
I'm actually really excited that you brought this up, because that's where our performance pay comes in. And with the performance pay, they have a base hourly wage, and that, complies with most all laws about having employees. And then we have a bonus system, which is discretionary pay. And so we have quality standards, we have productivity standards that they have to meet, right? So what that allows them to do is, now they are partly, it's basically would be like a base salary with commission is what it ends up being, right? So you know how some commission employees will have a base salary of, you're never going to make less than this, right? Well, what it is that where they're going to get their hourly wage no matter what. But what I would like for it to be is set about maybe 2/3 of what they could make, right? And then the rest is discretionary pay. So really, that incentivizes them to be efficient and a high performer, because that, if all their wages are burnt, or if all of the money allotted for that project, just like a subcontractor, is burned up in their hourly wage, they're not eligible for bonus. But if they want to be a high performer, and so you're incentivizing them the same way that a subcontractor will, because they will see, wow, I finished that job on Friday instead of coming 3 hours on Monday to finish it. How much that is going to affect their pay. And it affects their pay a lot. They can see it right in their face when they're being inefficient, how much it hurts their pay. And not only that, but we show what everybody's making in the company. So they can look at the high performers and go, wow, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table.
How often do you pay them? Do you pay them every other week, or and based off of what period of time?
Okay, so they get paid every single week to make, that gives them the stability of having a stable income, and that is based off of their hourly wage. So that, that doesn't change anything from their hourly wage. And what we do is, after the job is fully paid, the next month after that is when we pay them all their bonuses, and all their bonuses are figured out after final pay. And what we do is, commissioned salespeople are paid every other week. And so in between those weeks, we pay bonuses off. So that helps our cash flow out. And that way too, we don't accidentally pay more than we should have for a project. We crunch all the numbers, make sure it's right, and then we pay them for the value that they produce with their efficiency.
Are you using software?
We created our own.
You created your own. Okay.
Yep. It manages all of that. It's very automated and pretty easy to run. And also too, we manage skill level too. So this is partly a training program, and it, because we're trying to incentivize not just productivity, but quality too. And that's the beauty of having an in-house person, is you got to meet quality standards and productivity standards. And we are tracking that with our system.
Is that software going to be available for other dealers to use?
Yes. We're still tweaking it. It works awesome for our company, but I'm trying to make it as simple and universal as possible. So, because you know how it is, every business is a little bit different.
And this is the problem and the challenge I've seen when I work with FloorZap, and what I see the challenge with software companies are, they're trying to make it work to the company's business. And since everybody's business And I mean, it's a problem with software and marketing companies. Neither one of them have the courage to tell people this is the best way to run your business.
Yeah.
They, they want to say, we'll adapt to any way that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they're not doing it in a good way. And, they should have an advisor. They should say, this is the way you market your company. This is the way that your software should be set up. Because even I've got a client too that's still asking, so do I put in a markup or a margin? And that's one of the first things that we're working on is hitting those margins.
Yeah.
So, I think that the softwares should say, yes, you can do it any way you want, but this is the way we recommend that you do it. Because
Yeah.
I'm fascinated too with the employee pay. It's all over the board. I mean,
Yeah.
there is nobody that does anything the same way in our
Yeah.
industry. The time
Yeah.
periods that they will use to pay, the percentages they use to pay, everything is different. So it gets complicated. And that's what I'm saying with this system. It seems like doing the job costing would be complicated. So with this job system, what margins are you hitting before you pay the salesperson? Is that fair to say or ask? Like what?
Yeah.
Because we look at maybe a 40-45% margin is optimal before paying the salesperson's commission.
Yeah. We pay off of gross profit, not net. And so I don't I don't really implement a margin requirement per se, because the gross profit is taking into account whether they, have good margin or not. And so the other reason too is we sell like really, really expensive products, like up to $20 a square foot. And I'm willing to sacrifice some margin because the average ticket is so awesome. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'm kind of, doing it a little bit differently than that. Just because, especially like with like us being more of a high end company, um, I have found like, because we do project cost everything, and I'm looking at like the actual gross profit for the, actual work and time spent on it. And I have found that sometimes like our labor is set at a profit or margin level. But our products, I have noticed, like if it's a $20 square foot product versus like $8 or $10 square foot product, we could go down a little bit on margin, and the gross profit of the job is like exponentially more. You get what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we kind of gone, so in a nutshell, that's kind of how we work it.
Okay, but that still doesn't answer the question about what are you getting. And again, this is using in-house guy because
Yeah.
the system is complicated in my eyes still
Yeah.
to have the thing I find most complicated, and we'll get into this more, is paying guys hourly and then knowing what you should charge a customer, because charging them based off a square footage price is just so much easier, makes so much more sense
I get what you're saying
to
now.
do that. So
Yeah.
using your system now,
Yeah.
what kind of margins are you hitting on your jobs?
So we are 50%.
I mean, that's huge. That's high.
Yeah.
It's really high.
And so what we do is this is what I would recommend somebody do. We we work on you could take your profit and loss, right? And you can tell what net profit you want to make, right? And you can tell like what overhead you have, and then how much you can afford to pay your employees. And so what we're doing is and we hit 50% margin every single time because we're on a bonus system. So what we do is we know that whatever we charge for labor, we are paying 50% directly to the employees. So it makes it really easy to track, right? And what it is, they're going to make 50% of what we charge the customer, whether it takes them 3 days or 5 days, right? So if it takes them 3 days, then they get paid for 2 extra days. They can start another project and start earning bonus on the next one, which really adds a lot to their check, right? So we're still, you can still price it the same way that you do for a subcontractor. And that protects your margins too, because that's one of the worst things that can happen. And that's why a lot of people quit doing in-house, is because, you know, you have a budget that you would have paid a subcontractor no matter what, but now this employee, you know, has milked it, and you're paying them way too much to get the same work done. So what this does is once you implement this, you're still going to have a defined amount that you're going to pay, but we're breaking it down by percentage at that point. You know, so and this is the thing too. You're going to have to learn how to work with your employees as well, because what you're going to find is you may be drastically undercharging for certain things, and you never understood why your subs hated doing certain things, like let's say a repair, or let's say a upholstered carpet, you know, around stairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, you'll start. Nobody can ever make a bonus when I give them repairs or upholstered carpet. You know what I found is you can charge way more for a lot of those items, and people still get them, right?
Yeah.
So we solved those problems. Now I'm paying now, because I can see the numbers and I can tell who, you know, we have enough people where we can tell, okay, why does this guy make it a great bonus every single time we give him upholstered carpet, right? Then you know but if nobody can ever achieve that, you know, a bonus, then you know, okay, like maybe we just never realized how much we could charge for it, right? And so it's actually helped us, informed us, like, wow, you know, we doubled the price of our repairs because we realized nobody's making any money.
Yeah.
And guess what? We still get just as many repairs. So it's getting you in line, because it doesn't help not knowing. You know, if the installer is a sub is getting screwed over and they can't convince the dealer, that doesn't help your relationship with that subcontractor, right? But being that I know the numbers, they see the numbers, we get together and we go, you know what, that is stupid. You know, that's not fair to either one of us, right? So, and it's like sometimes the solution is right in front of your face, but until you're both looking at the numbers, then you can go, wow, that was stupid that we shot ourselves in the foot.
Good. Okay. So, but I mean, that's in line with getting all your numbers together and understanding your business more.
Yeah.
So you think having in-house installers gives you a clearer picture of the whole scope of work and what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Because there was things that, I mean, even being a sub, I was shocked at what was more profitable or not. Just because I was a sub, I didn't have time to crunch the numbers. Like I said, I didn't have a organizational system, because, you know, now the company can afford software that a sub can't, right? You know what I mean? You know, we've had, you know, to run our own in-house companies, we've had softwares built, you know what I mean, to run it. And now it's like, holy moly, like, you know, I would have loved to be able to have access to this kind of information as a sub, but being that I'm the dealer, you know what I mean? I have office staff that can run this stuff. I got a bookkeeper that can, you know, align my books, so I really see what the numbers look like. And it's really not extra work for me once I get it set up, you know, but, you know, a subcontractor, they don't have that. So it gives us, yeah, a clear picture of what's good for them and us. And really, honestly, what's bullshit and what's not bullshit.
So that was, you know, one of the arguments that you and I always get into is the installer pay and why they're getting underpaid. And it's not, I've always said, it's not out of greed from the employer. A lot of them don't charge enough.
Yeah.
You know, so they believe that they're in this competitive market where they can't charge enough, and they don't know how to. You know, and I'm always preaching to raise the price, but that raising a price doesn't live in a bubble. You raise the price, but you also have to not increase the quality of your work as much as you have to increase the quality of your sales presentation. You know,
Yeah.
so if you have a better sales presentation, you can raise your prices. So speaking of sales presentation, what's that do for you using in-house guys versus subcontractors?
Oh, honestly, I think it's a salesperson's dream, because they're included in what the training that the crews get. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody's a part of it, you know? So it's like, hey, you know, let's have a restroom policy. You know, let's have a cleanup policy. in that way, the installers are like in unity with the salesperson, right? We're saying, hey, how can we both help each other? Because we're having conversations with the salespeople and the installers, just saying, hey, how can we help the salesperson get more referrals? You know what I mean? Because if they get more referrals and we can sell at a higher margin, we have, we can give y'all more benefits. So it's really
Right.
like this team atmosphere of like, hey, we need the apprentice to help build the company, right? We teach them how to be respectful, how to smile, how, you know what I mean? So we're having regular trainings every single week just about how do we make that client feel great? How does the salesperson sell something that they know that they're going to get from the crews, right? I mean, think about this, from a client's perspective. The sub pulls up to their house. They have a scripted way that they greet them, right? They have a scripted way that they, present how the project's going to go. They're wearing uniforms. Their vehicles and trailers are wrapped, right? You know what I mean? They're just getting this constant branding, right? And so
Yeah.
that going, wow, like, and every customer's getting the same experience because everybody's trained with all of these SOPs, and they're just going, wow, these are the most respectful people. Because you've seen it, with salespeople training, right? When you get everybody on the same page and everything's scripted, everything has a form and a function. It's like, it's just an untapped opportunity for you to get such a great brand built, where they're just and the other thing too is their neighbors see that. Their neighbors see a wrapped vehicle, everybody's in uniform, you know what I mean? And they're out there. I've turned my installers into salespeople, right? They're out there
Right.
talking to the and referring it back to the store to that salesperson.
So what I was speaking of is the perspective of the salesperson working with a customer,
Yeah,
and you're talking overall experience, which is
yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
amazing. But what I'm talking about is how easy is it for them to sell and close a job knowing that you're using in-house crews? What is that as part of your pitch when you're selling a job? And
yeah,
you're doing high-end woodwork that, again, not everybody can do this kind of work. I don't think every flooring dealer should be in the wood flooring business.
yeah,
Anybody can be in the flooring business, selling
yeah,
carpet and luxury vinyl. Even tile is a much more complicated to me than just carpet and luxury vinyl. But
yeah,
and I think anybody can get into those businesses, figure it out, and do it well. But hardwood, there's a lot of nuances to it that require a lot more expertise. So, my idea that you don't have to know the product, you don't have to really understand it to be successful at it. And I know you guys take great insult to that, but I really don't mean hardwood when it comes to that, especially like sand and refinish. And that's the
yeah,
funny thing too about sand and refinish is these guys are some people treat it like it's as easy as painting a house, and they've got to be price competitive on that sort of thing.
yeah.
But and I'm going off on a tangent, but um, what is that doing for your salespeople's ability to close a sale? What is your closing rate?
Um, it's about 65%.
Yeah, that's a little on the high side, so that's really, really good.
Yeah,
So 65% with a 50% margin is fantastic. So
yeah,
in the ideal in our industry, I wouldn't even say average, but I think the average to get to is about 50% closing in the home.
hmm,
And that's with all brands and products, and at about a 40 to 45% margin. That would be ideal. Closing a 60% margin that's taking a lot of work to get to that place too, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Because the other thing too is average ticket as well. Like we have like a $12,000 average ticket. And I need to run our most current numbers on that, but I think we've got landed some really huge projects just in the last couple months, and we usually do that quarterly. I actually want to start doing that monthly because we really should be tracking that a little tighter. But yeah, and I think that's I mean I would credit a lot of that to us being in house. It's just I feel like it's easier to land larger projects that are higher end. doing that. So, that could be an opportunity maybe for a company that, isn't as much into that. Like if you really start networking and building in-house teams and crews, it makes it a lot easier. Because like what you said for the salesperson, it makes their job really easy because a confidence is huge for salespeople, right? But when they've been in the trainings with the installers about how they present themselves and how respectful they are and giving that, them the quality and experience together, I mean, that's huge for a salesperson to be able to brag on that.
Yeah, I would still argue with you that it has less to do with having in-house guys and more to do with the kind of processes that you've had to put in place by having in-house guys that has
Yeah.
affected every aspect of your business.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
amount of work that you've done in the business, and that's another thing I've constantly preached is that people are not driven by money. So whether it's salespeople or installers, I don't ever get into incentivizing. I love bonuses and I love those incentives, but I've never seen evidence of people working for those incentives. The what gets people working for the incentives is the leadership,
Yeah.
making sure, and I don't care if you have subcontractors or in-house, those guys all need attention. And that's one thing I've seen that a dramatic shift is once you start trusting those guys and you leave them alone and you stop giving them the attention, you're going to start to see their work go downhill.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's salespeople or installers. Everybody needs attention. Everybody needs a little bit of hand holding. They need good instructions, expectations, and they need you to inspect their work. And they want you to inspect their work because they want you to give them a pat on the back and say, hey man, that looks really good. And if you take that out, I don't care if you're paying them in-house or subcontractors, you're not going to get good results after a while.
Let me ask you a question then, because this is actually something I'm trying to help dealers get started with in-house. Is you're saying that pay is not a great motivator, and a lot of people are stuck on pay when it comes to bringing it in-house. And obviously we've solved a lot of that with our system, with bonuses and for productivity and everything. But what about do you feel that people are motivated by opportunity? Because I feel like there is a lot of opportunity that can be conveyed to a salesperson or an in-house person. But basically saying, hey, there's a huge opportunity in us growing a solid team for the business and for you. I mean, do you feel like that would be more of a motivator than even just like a dollar amount?
I've seen more people that work for a guy just because they like him
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. And the loyalty comes from really liking this person.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so where the conditions may not be the greatest and the pay may not be as important. And they come to you with more money when they have a need, which drives me crazy. When somebody says, hey, I had this problem, I need to get paid more, or hey, my expenses went up. So they're asking for more pay as a result of their decisions, not their work. That
Mm-hmm.
drives me crazy. But they're so loyal to you mostly because they like you and they like the company, and people don't like change, so they're not looking. If they are motivated by pay, then they're probably not going to stay with you because they're always looking for more pay and better opportunities somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think what motivates people the most, I've always said this, it's incompetence. When they see somebody doing something bad and they know they could do it better themselves. It's what motivated most of you to get into your own business, is because the people you were working for, you knew you could do it better than they can.
Yeah.
And it drives you to want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's not even a desire as much for greater pay. Yes, it's the reward. And we are motivated a little bit by the money, but it just doesn't drive us as much. I've seen so much evidence of this, especially when it goes to salespeople, where I've extended the month because they're in the bonus. So let's say the month end, like this month ends on Thursday. I say, well, I'll give you towards Saturday. Anything you close by December 2nd, I'll pay you for in November. That way
Yeah.
it's part of your bonus. I've never
Yeah.
got an extra sale out of doing that.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that motivation just hasn't been there. The leadership, going over week after week, here's where we're at, here's our numbers, here's where we want to get to, what do you have going on, looking at them.
Yeah.
And it's true, people respect what you inspect. So going out to the installers, just spending a few moments with them to say, man, that looks really good. And even
Yeah.
telling them if something's wrong, here, why don't you try this next time, or showing them, helping them, they want to enjoy their job and enjoy their work.
Yeah. And that a lot of what you teach about how to have leadership and training for salespeople, we're just implementing it to the installers because they're our employees. There's no limitations on how much training, and I can walk on their job site and say, hey, how about we do this, or this doesn't look quite as good as if we did it this way. You know what I mean? Whereas that with subcontractors, it's that's kind of you're getting into the employee territory. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have to even worry about that. It's like, hey, let's team up and do the best as possible. And it's amazing, like how underutilized training is for installers. It's let me ask you this: how do you think most installers got trained?
But I think they probably learned on their own, just going out there and doing it and screwing it up and doing it again and doing it again,
Yeah.
and they
Could you
probably made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like if your salespeople, if that's how they had to learn? I mean, it's like
Well, and some people are expecting their salespeople to learn that way. Here's some videos, figure it out and do it. And so they don't have processes or systems. So that's how most people are operating. I see a lot of people turning somebody, hey, I really like you, so let me bring you in on sales. And the person
yeah,
has no sales skills. The company I was working with years ago, before I started my flooring business, they had the person that was hired as a bookkeeper, had the personality of a bookkeeper. No offense to bookkeepers, but
yeah,
you're not salespeople. The bookkeeper had the personality, never looked up and said hi to me in 6 months. And then
yeah,
when I took over running that store, I'm like, what is she doing here as a salesperson? Well, we moved her in. We needed a salesperson. She's a
yeah,
horrible salesperson. She doesn't even look up and say hi. She doesn't have the skills to be a salesperson. She came in here to do the books.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it requires the leadership. It requires the processes and systems. And I don't care if they are subcontractors. I don't understand the logic and the thinking that since they're subcontractors, you can't tell them certain things on the job site. You can't tell them that that's wrong, you need to do a better job or something. They're still, if a client hires you and you're the subcontractor, they're the customer, and damn right they can tell you that they don't like something and you should do it better. Well, if you're hiring a subcontractor, you're the client, and you have every right to tell that subcontractor or anybody to do something better. Now, and to look over a project and look over a job site. There's nothing illegal or wrong about overseeing a subcontractor's work. In fact, the thing that's wrong is trusting them and saying, go out there and here's that project. Well, then you're just another contractor and they can work for anybody. But if you're the guy that's going to go out there and inspect their job, make sure they have the materials they need, and make sure that they can do a good job, then you're probably going to build that relationship that they need, that they're going to want to work for you.
yeah. The issue that I've had with subcontractors, and I would agree, if you're running subcontractors, I would totally do exactly what you're saying. But the hard part is what I have found is you get a lot less consistency of what you're going for when you just tell them this needs to be better versus training them how to make it better. You know what I mean? It's like with the salesperson, if you're like, hey, we need to hit these numbers, just hit these numbers, right? That's not nearly as effective as creating a sales presentation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Strategize how you're going to get there. And that's the difficulty with subcontractors is it's not set up. I mean, you really, the margins aren't even set up for you to provide training for them usually. You get what I mean? And so it's like, and not only that, but it's like borderline illegal to actually do that. So you can tell them what you want, but once you start telling them how to do it, that's where you've breached the subcontractor employee. And honestly, it's counterproductive because you hire them as a business to do it. It's not your responsibility to train them how to do it. And so that's what I'm saying. The advantage of on the in-house side of things is we have a system and process. So if there's something I don't like, it's like, hey, we need to follow this process. We got to kind of go back to this, and I'm going to show them, okay, now to prevent this from happening again, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to get there. And so a lot of the solution is in the process, not just dictating how it should be done. And a great sub will do that. But I mean, like I said, most subs, they don't have the time to create systems and processes for the people that work for them.
I think it's more on the leadership than the sub. A great leader understands how to talk to the sub to get them to do what they want to do. And if you can't get the results that you want, then you can't use that sub anymore.
Yeah.
So a great leader needs to understand how to work with people. I mean, I've been challenged with this, you've got that hot dog salesperson that doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to change the way they do things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what I find is that what you can do is dismiss them, say, you don't need the help, let me work with the other people and you're doing a great job. And they'll go, well, I want to help. I want to learn too. I'm willing to learn. Well, if you approach them that way, now they want to learn if you dismiss them. But if you say, here, I'm going to show you how to do it, then they get defensive with you. So there's always an approach and a way to handle everybody in every situation where, and that's the thing, is trying to find out as a leader is how do I approach this to get the results I want to get. So I don't see, again, any problem with telling a subcontractor, because ideally for even your process to work and to have in-house, in most cases, you're going to have to start them out as a subcontractor, have a 90-day grace period or some grace period. And during that grace period, you're going to be going in and kind of treating them like an employee, because this is what their future is going to be like. And this is the results you're going to need in order to convert them into an employee. So you're going to start treating them like an employee anyway. And maybe you convert them sooner. And maybe sooner you determine that they're not employee material, but that willingness to get the training too. And that's one thing I do see from a lot of subcontractors. They don't want to take the time away from doing installs to get the training done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if you can pay them, and it's not even about the pay, I mean, they really don't want to take that time out. It makes them nervous as hell, even though they're getting paid for it, to walk away from installing for a few days.
Yeah.
Half these guys don't take off during the holidays.
What I've been trying to do is more like micro training. So, I basically, hey, this is something that we can all improve on, and then specific people like noticing, hey, they need some improvement in these areas. And what I do is I just, we'll take micro amounts of time so that they're not out for days. And I've actually found that to be more effective, because we're tracking things with KPIs now. So we can tell, hey, who needs help and who's better. And sometimes I'll even just team them up with somebody that is better at that particular thing. And just say, hey, we're, working on this and that, I think that this is going to help improve your numbers. It's going to be, help you out and them out. And I'll actually just team them up with somebody that is better at that particular thing. So, because I'm not a big fan of just like sending them away for days. Like I'm not, and I'm all for certifications and trainings and stuff like that. But I feel like it's not just the answer just to send them away. I feel like, it's just managing kind of like where you need to be and where you can improve. And you know what I mean? And give them like those 5-10 minute consecutively, I think is actually a lot more effective.
What I'd really like to see is somebody like you have a training program rather than a classroom that's being done now, to get them on the job, and where you get paid to bring that person in and train. They work under you for you know, 2 to 3 weeks, whatever, or whatever the time frame is. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how long it is. They're not going to learn what they need to know. Everybody learns on the job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
get them started, get them going, get them understanding a lot of stuff, you know, and then you could even bring them in-house to learn some other details that maybe they don't learn on the job sites that you're currently on. But
Yeah.
it'd be nice if you guys would develop some kind of training system where you could bring in somebody and train them.
Yeah. It would be nice to even like do something like that, or even a train the trainer where they could get started, where they have, somebody that basically learns, okay, this is how, so you can give them a structure of how to training program and how to manage in-house employees with incentives and performance pay and all that. So you can give them the structure, but then you can also get somebody just, show, hey, this is what it looks like in the real world, because it is much different than being on panels or in a classroom. Like, I think the classroom is great, but it's almost maybe like a couple steps beyond. Like, it's like, hey, let's figure out how to make it in the real world. And then if you need some classroom education, you can get that too.
Have you had any issues with a guy that you really liked as a subcontractor, somebody that's good that just doesn't want to go in-house?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And usually those people, I've already determined that they probably are. Some people are more well suited to be like Ken Ballin. He would not be a great, in-house employee for somebody. I mean, he's an artist and he sells his own job. I mean, I'd be like, dude, just that's better for you. So I'm looking for that person that does not want to manage the business side of things, but they have ambition. They're great at the craft. So you're looking for a personality type, right? And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of, my dad is one of those types of guys. He just wants to be on the projects, managing that. He doesn't want to deal with the customers. He doesn't want to deal with getting his own jobs and all that kind of, you get what I mean? So what you're doing is you're showing them how that's the ideal person that you want, right? Because you can take so much stress off of them,
Right.
and that's worth it for them right there. Just, they don't have to manage the schedule. You know how stressful it is as a sub to have a job that goes 2 days longer because something unexpected, and you have another job scheduled for a different store. That is like, would you want to hear that your installer can't get to your job because they're delayed on another store's project? No,
Right.
you don't want that, and you are going to throw a fit, right? And that is super stressful. You can, eliminate a lot of that kind of stress, and then managing employees and office stuff like that. Most craftspeople, they hate the office side. They hate it. It's stressful for them. You can take all that off of them.
So how do you manage, like right now, we're in a tough time. We're going a lot longer than I want to. I hate going over an hour,
Yeah.
but so my apologies, but hopefully you guys are finding this interesting. Right now is a very difficult time economically. I mean, people are really struggling out there. So a lot of people couldn't manage and don't have enough work for an in-house crew. So how do you manage the economics of that?
Well, I mean, if you're not big enough to have one crew, then they need to get with you, and you know what I mean, grow their business. I mean, I would say, for one, I mean, what I'm talking about is not for somebody that can't even barely manage. This is for people that want to be high level, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I is get with Jerry, figure out how to boost your profits, boost your margins. Because I mean, if you got, if you're doing 2 to 4 million in revenue, like, you're gonna have at least a few solid crews that you can keep busy all the time, right? And then
Yeah.
use your subs for the overflow, type of work that's, would be more suitable for a sub. That way too, you're not trying to find any sub possible to try. You have your baseline of projects. So let's say maybe you in a bad year you do 3 million, in a good year you do 4 million. Well, you're always going to have 3 million worth of work, or 1 or 2 million, whatever you're at. But I mean, any company that's over $1 million should be able to afford at least 2 or 3 in-house crews. Like, you should be able to, right? Like, you got a systemic problem if you're fluctuating like half of, you know what I mean, to where you can't afford an in-house company.
Well, I'll be interested to see what your experience is as you expand in the other products, because again, wood flooring is a craft, and I
Yeah.
can see hiring in-house and having craftsmen and the importance of that. Most carpet jobs and luxury vinyl carpet jobs can usually be done in a day or two.
Yeah.
So keeping those guys busy, having enough carpet jobs. And again, a small company, again, I would think to have consistency, you're looking at $2-3 million to be large enough to have the consistency to have an in-house crew.
Yeah.
So without crunching and knowing all the numbers specifically.
Yeah.
So, and depending on what you're doing. So when you're primarily focused on wood flooring, having those crews and being able to manage their time and all that and the income seems like it would be easier than, so many different things going on. Again, because we're talking about average tickets closer to $5,000 to $6,000 when you're doing carpet, luxury vinyl. Carpet, you're much lower. You're like 3,000 average ticket. So I try to get people up to about 6,500. I think should be ideal average ticket on carpet, luxury vinyl combined. That's the majority of what people are doing. So when it comes to tile jobs and wood, some people get no tile and no hardwood, but those are the categories that it would seem best to have those in-house crews if you have enough work to keep them busy, especially if you're doing things like showers, or even kitchen and bath remodels. Those in-house crews seem so. There's just a lot going on, and again, I see a lot of $2 to $3 million businesses that have multiple products. So if you're doing wood, tile, carpet, vinyl, and you're doing kitchen cabinets, countertops, and maybe you're doing window coverings, you might not have the ability, enough work in any one category to have an in-house crew.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know though. I think it's because a lot of people, when you're using subcontractors, you're not thinking about that you can combine your crews, right? Like you don't want to combine two different sub crews together, right? And so,
Yeah, because some people are better at things than others, and some people can install carpet but don't know how to install anything else.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at, those, I mean, you can train for a lot of those different variables depending on your company. And what I would say, I mean, if you don't have enough, work for at least one crew in each category, I mean, I don't know. I think that I think a lot of what you're talking about is a business model problem because I mean, honestly, it's like the most productive way to sell is to, sell a lot of each category, right? And it's kind of like,
Well, the most productive way is to sell a lot of one or two categories. The people who are moving the slowest are the ones that are covering multiple categories, and they're only doing a couple million, 3 million a year. But there are one-trick ponies doing 5 and 6 million a year. There are people that are only doing luxury vinyl and they're selling $5-6 million a year or more. But it seems like the more product categories that somebody has, the slower they move. And because I get into this with people where they're trying to service every product category that they have. Well, how do I market this? How do I market that? So they're taking a marketing budget of 2,500, 3,000, 5,000 a month and watering it down between several product categories. And again, they don't have, the marketing company doesn't have the courage to tell them that this isn't going to work. The marketing company saying, what do you want to advertise? And they give them all those products. And so instead of saying that's not going to work, that's not going to be effective, they say, okay, let's do that. And they don't get any results from it, especially right now.
Well, yeah, because in-house crews work the best if you have over 3 crews because you get a culture dynamic there and you have, efficiency gains. So like we can afford large concrete grinders to concrete huge jobs super fast with amazing dust containment. A small crew would not be able to afford the type of equipment that, you know what I mean? So it's like, you get what I mean? There's an economy of scale there. So once you get beyond 3 or 4, you can have a crew that just goes around and preps that has like that equipment to do like dusted tile removal, large concrete grinding, so they're going to be happy. You're not down there with a little angle grinder trying, you get what I mean? So you can actually operate as a more professionalized company, able to offer that. And kind of my point on what you're saying is that if you can't sell enough to keep at least 3 or 4 crews busy, is it even worth it? Like, you might have more of a business model. You get what I mean? The numbers.
Well, and I think that's something to consider as you
Yeah.
package and sell what you're doing with the in-house crews. It's almost kind of an interview process of what products are you selling? What's your overall revenue? You
Yeah.
want to get to at least $2 million per product category
Yeah.
before bringing in-house crews. I mean, so
Yeah.
the reality might be, I don't know what that number is. It might be 1.5 million, might be 2 million. But if you're not doing at least 1.5 million or 2 million in a specific product category, then an in-house crew may not work for you. And then you were just saying, which was fascinating, is until you can scale to 3 crews, it's really not worth it. So is it worth it to get started with this model? And can you use your model to grow your business to where you can have 3 in-house crews? Because you got to start with 1, right?
Yeah.
So time frame would it take us to grow from 1 in-house crew to 3 in-house crews?
Well, part of that, and this is why, it's less than just like, oh, like, here's how you do it. I mean, if you want to be a business person, you got to know how to build a team, right? So if you can build a team, I mean, a good team builder can have this set up in months, right? So you really, it's just like, with your sales team, right? If you're a great leader and you can build a team, you can have an incredible sales force in a short amount of time. I mean, using your methods, right?
Right.
For sales team, right? It's the same thing with the install. You don't have to know everything about installing. You need to build a team, right? So you know what I mean? It's about your ability to go out and team build. And that's where I would say, hey, I mean, get with Jerry and figure out how to build your revenue to have a great in-house crew, because the thing is, it can be worthwhile with one crew. It's just more worthwhile to have 3. You get money because of the economy of scale. It's the same thing with sales, right? It's way better a $3 or $4 million company on the sales end than it is to be a $1 million, right? Because you have so many more, you have so much more infrastructure to help, invest into the training. $1 million companies have a hard time forking out for training, right? If you're a $4 million company, guess what? You can spend a bunch of money on training and get top-notch level salespeople. So, and it's the same thing.
And
better if you're
actually, the beginning part, even before building the team, it's having those processes and systems down that make that team successful.
Yes.
It's really not about the people, it's about the processes and systems. So you plug the people in and build a good team, because and that's the whole part of my sales strategy, is make giving a price easy. Once you make giving the price easy, then it's easy to be a good salesperson. Build rapport. You're focused on building rapport and decorating. So that's what makes training sales. Well, I can train any salesperson. I could train in 2 weeks to go out on their own and sell carpet and luxury vinyl. Okay. I think tile and hardwood are a little bit more complicated, but even with good process and system, I could train somebody very quickly on those 2 categories as well. Well, tile, maybe not hardwood. So give you guys a little bit more respect than that. So, but on those 3 categories, we could train them quickly with a good process and system and a good way of giving a price. So, I really think it begins there. And that's the thing that you're going to be selling eventually, is that process and system that they can use to build a good team around that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because if you can team build, I mean, you can do this anywhere. You know what I mean? It's a build a team more than it is even, your knowledge of installation or anything like that.
Yeah. And like I said in the beginning, it's not a matter of this can't be done. It's a matter of how can it be done. So it's always exploring that idea. How can we build a better mousetrap? How can you do this better? And so that's why I love this conversation, is discussing about how can it be done. So ideally, having in-house crews, the advantage is better quality workmanship, probably more repeat referral business, And it sounds like your margins are higher, having that in-house crew. The sales process is easier and better. So, but it's very difficult to get there. And this is the other thing that's very funny. A reason that people don't like to price their showrooms is because the suppliers keep increasing the prices. So it makes it very difficult to price it and keep it priced. And so my argument with that was, yeah, whoever did anything that was difficult, that was worthwhile,
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
really what you want to do? You want to avoid doing something difficult? Well, having in-house crews is, to me, it's a very difficult thing, but the success, you're doing something very difficult. And right now your business is going really well while everybody else is struggling. Because, and again, this isn't done in a bubble. You didn't just decide to hire in-house installers. You had to create and develop processes and systems for it. So
Yeah.
it took a lot of work to get where you're at.
Yeah. Well,
So the
that's
beauty
what
of it is you'll be able to give that to people. You'll be able to sell that to people so they can do it as well.
yeah, I'm going, geez, we put so much into this and now it's working awesome. And I mean, I can cut the level of frustration and work out of this by like 90%, and
Yeah.
to me, I'm going, wow, that would be so huge, to not have to work out all the kinks. The part of me, I'm just going, man, this is just working out so great for us. I would love to see other people be able to do this so much easier than what it took us to do it.
Yeah. So one last thing, this is probably not even necessary to say, but I'm gonna say it anyhow. We talk about changing the industry, and this will rub people the wrong way. I don't give a damn about the industry. I don't even know what the hell the industry is. I care about people. I care about the people that are in the business and the people that want to make a change, and that's why I don't like the romantic talk about the industry, because to me, that's a meaningless statement. Is the industry. There are people who want to make changes and want to do better, and those are the ones that we want to help, is the people that have the desire to make the changes. I don't feel a responsibility to help the industry as a whole, because even when it comes down to it, Mohawk and Shaw and all these companies need to do what's best for their business model, and not so much industry related, but how can they best serve their customers to help them best serve their customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you look at people who truly have the desire to grow, that invest in themselves and programs and product knowledge and business knowledge to get where they want to go. Those are the people I want to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I do want to see the industry better than what it is as a whole, but I agree with you. It's not going to happen because from the top down, it's going to happen from the bottom up, just because people realize that it's beneficial for them personally.
Yeah, well, and that too is even bottom up. No, it really does start from the top, because it starts with the leaders, and you're one of the leaders. So you have to sell that vision and make it easy for people. The people at the bottom, they're the ones that are complaining about the conditions, but they're not doing anything about it.
Oh
And they
yeah, what
quit
bottom up trade organizations aren't going to mandate, and the state's not going to mandate us. You know what I mean? To be better, what I mean is like individually, like broad wise, like
right.
we each choice that does it, like rather than having some organization dictate to make everybody better. That's kind of what I get. Like, because
Yeah.
I think people get that mind frame of like, oh, if we just make a better trade organization, or we just, what I mean, like that's going to fix the industry problems. And I don't think it's like bad to like get resources to help people be better, but like it ain't going to happen because the big wigs and the told us to do better.
Well, we went from an installer shortage to all of a sudden people are knocking on the door wanting work because the economy went down.
Yeah.
So almost solve the problem that existed until the economy gets better again. Now the training's getting in place. They're starting to do a pretty good job with training and educating people about the opportunities in the flooring industry. And that's the other good thing about the in-house installer program is that you really will attract installers and people new to the industry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give them that opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was great, Matt. So hopefully people enjoyed it, and hopefully I didn't over talk this time, and
Yeah.
people
But
go,
hey,
I wish you'd shut the hell up and let Matt talk.
what I like about you is you're trying to help people get more opportunity and more access. And I have the same passion. That's why I love talking with you, because it's like, yeah, let's like think outside the box. Let's have better ideas and be successful.
Yeah, I mean, we really got to dumb down the system in a way that it makes it easy for people to implement it,
Yeah.
you know, so and it has to make sense. So but it really is interesting and fascinating to see is, will this model work with all product categories and how do even large companies, because I even know large companies still use subcontractors.
Yeah. I think I've already talked to, I mean, boatloads of different size companies, from, one crew to, 10 crews, to 20 crews. So I think as I roll this out, I think you're going to be impressed how well it can work across the board. And a lot of what I like about these conversations is it's helping me fine tune how we, you know what I mean, simplify it, dumb it down, make it to where, yeah, like you can like get started running.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see that hiring process come together, because I do think
Yeah.
it is it starts off as a subcontractor, which is ideal. Anytime you hire an employee, you want to have a trial period too,
Yep.
would be
Exactly.
ideal. So
I'm
this
trying
is,
to make it, yeah, there's almost like no downside is what I would love. It's like, hey, like you got a process where you're never taking a big risk. You know what I mean? That's what I think people want to hear. And that's what I'm dialing in to where, hey, we can do this in a way that it's not a big risk. And we know that we're going to be successful before we commit to anything.
yeah, and where it's difficult finding good installers, I'd hate to see people have a process of only in-house guys and make it harder to find the installer. It's like, let's get them in as subcontractors and then
I,
convert.
I love the hybrid model because you have the opportunity to get the best of both worlds as much as you can.
Yeah, and convert. All right.
So,
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Sounds good. Close this out. Actually, I don't have a script this time to close this out. I'm just going to close this out. And you guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Reach out to Matt if you want more information. He is developing this process and system. If you're interested in joining Syeth, the coaching group, we'd love to have you on board. Come reach out to me and let's get you signed up and get you started. And let's take charge in 2024 and profit now in the flooring industry.